We had baby number 2 on November 30th, Birdie Soul. This is the story of how she came to be.
One vital part about all this was she made us be very, very patient. And we went into labor at 40 weeks and 3 days. And then she was born 40 weeks and 4 days.
4 days.
So we had gone to my 40-week appointment on Monday. Wasn't looking so exciting. Too great. We were thinking we were going to have to do an induction because our fluids were low. And we had to schedule an ultrasound to make sure everything was still okay. So I was pretty convinced that Thursday we were going to end up being induced.
And it was a bit of a wreck.
Yeah. And then she decided to start coming the next day.
The next day.
Yeah.
So it was Tuesday, November 29th. Sent Hannah out to go do some pampering on a walk and to go do some retail therapy. So I went to work in the morning, came home, put Crew to bed. She left. And then she gets back around 5:30. Crew and I are just kind of hanging out. We have some dinner.
At this point, I'm contracting like every 5 to 7 minutes.
Yeah. And so
I had been for weeks, so I didn't know if anything was going to come from it.
But when she got back, she's like, my contractions have gotten a little bit stronger since I left. So we kind of hang out for the night. We put Crew to bed at like 7:30, and then she and I get into bed pretty quick. It's probably right around 8 o'clock. And then I abruptly get woken up at 12:45 in the morning. And she says, hey, we should put the hospital bag in the car. I'm like, and then get back in bed, right? And she goes,
no,
then
go to the hospital. So while he's sleeping, which I told him to go to sleep, but I was not able to sleep. So I got up and I got ready, dishes and laundry. Anyway, double check the hospital bag. And at this point, my contractions were every like 2 to 3 minutes, but I was still doing okay. And they were lasting for a full minute. But then I woke him up because they had been 2 to 3 minutes for like 3 hours. So we head to the hospital. The hospital's 30 minutes away. Earlier in the night, we called my sister and had her come sleep at our house to be with Crew. To the hospital, we get there at like 1:30 because it was the middle of the night. We had to check in through the ER. So we get up to triage and they hook me up to all the monitors. Sure enough, contractions are still every 2 to 3 minutes, but I'm only dilated to 1.5. A big bummer.
The doctor just came by since she had just checked in. He looked at her charts. He was in there for like 5 minutes, looked at her charts, and he goes, she's having enough contractions that we're not going to let her go.
I think partially that was because I was a VBAC person, and so they're just a lot more cautious with VBACs.
Yeah, but he's like, let's just monitor for an hour or 2 hours, and then figure out kind of what's going on. He's like, but we're not just going to send her home right now. So they get Hannah all squared away, and
they checked me a little bit later, and I had to face more, but I was still the same dilation. But then they checked me at the end of the 2-hour mark, and I had dilated to a 3. So they're like, yeah, you're making good progress. We're going to stay. At this point, I turned to the nurse. I'm like, people are a lot further along when they're contracting every 2 to 3 minutes, right? And she's like, yeah, usually they're like a 7. I was planning on not coming to the hospital till I was around a 5. I'm like, it's going to be a long time that we're going to be here. Crew's birth was 27 hours until an emergency C-section, so it probably would have been like 30-something hours.
yeah.
So I'm like, great. We're probably not having a baby today. It's probably going to be tomorrow.
And this is like early in the morning we're saying this.
So we're both just exhausted. So when they checked me, it was like 3 a.m. when I was at 3, right?
Yeah.
So then they're like, just try and rest as much as possible. So we turned off all the lights. I'm just like, we're just trying to make it.
So we're both kind of snoozing in between contractions. They keep coming in. It was right around every 2 to 2.5 hours that we'd have them check her. So she went from like a 3 to a 5 to a 7.
But I was stuck at a 7
8.
for a little bit.
Yeah.
So
then she finally gets
at
an 8.
noon, I was at a 7. So basically, I made slow and steady progress. My doctor was at in the clinic that day, so she actually came over for a little bit. But basically, Colin and my mom had to do counter pressure during every contraction. It was just slow and steady progress. I basically just was trying to make it through contractions, and you guys were just trying to help me. My doctor comes and checks me. She's like, yeah, you're still at a 7. I'm going to go finish up my last few patients at clinic, and then I'll come over after. Like, my water hadn't broken. We didn't think. Turns out later it had like
a slow leak.
I had like a slow leak, so I was losing water. So I think that's why everything was a little bit more painful, because I had low fluid on Monday before we went into labor though. So at 12 I was still a 7. Around 1:30 I was feeling a ton of pressure, but she had stayed at like a -3 station, so super high up most of the time. So I think, looking back, it was just her dropping when I was feeling all that pressure. So they checked me again, because I'm like, I didn't really know what to expect. So at 1:30 she checked me because I was feeling pressure. She's like, you're at an 8, but like baby has dropped a lot. And I'm like, okay. I have like a few more contractions. I was just in a ton of pain. I went unmedicated. Everything was tough. So at 2 o'clock, I was about to lose it. Her checked me again. I was still at an 8.
She said she was still at an 8, but
I had a contraction while they were checking
Correct.
me. So she didn't get to check me super great because she was checking me. I got a contraction, and so she stopped checking me.
right.
This was at 2 o'clock, so I'm like, okay, if I'm only an 8, then like I have to go to the bathroom right now. I need to go. So Colin and my mom helped me get up and go to the bathroom. The nurse goes out. It takes me forever to get to the toilet because a baby is about to come out. So I'm like hunched over, walking to the toilet, sit down, and my body immediately starts pushing.
It's true.
I reach down and feel, I'm like, no, she's coming, it's her. So I'm screaming because I'm on the toilet. I don't want to have my baby on the toilet, but I'm in so much pain that I can't get up. So the nurse comes in.
She's like, this is unacceptable. We got to get this thing under control. Well, that just freaking lit the little tigre here, the tigress.
So I'm
She
like,
did not
no,
like
I'm
that.
like, a baby's coming out. Like, my body is pushing. And she's like, okay, let's get you back to the bed, but I just checked you and you're at an 8.
Like, you
You
could
don't
just
have
see
to
her
do
body,
that.
like, pushing. It was kind of crazy.
So
It was, like, so wild as a man. But because we didn't have the experience the first time, like, it was just insane just to watch her body, like, wiggling this child out.
So at this point, it's probably like 2:05 by the time I get back to the bed.
Oh, yeah. By the time you get back
Yeah.
to the bed, it's 2:05.
She gets me on the bed. She's like, oh yeah, a baby's coming.
So she yelled for the nurse.
So she yelled for someone else, and she's like, call Dr. Juarez, get the doctor, and now I'm going to let you take over because this part is a blur.
So she goes and she gets the doctor. So the doctor comes in and he's like, hi, my name's so-and-so. We're just waiting for your doctor to get here. And then he looks at the nurse and he can kind of see Hannah's body's moving. He goes, when did you call her? And they're like, the same time we called you. He goes, oh. So Hannah's like here in front of me. Her legs are going this way. Her head's up this way. I've got this leg. Her mom's on the other side. Homeboy is like just standing like right here behind me. And he's peeking over my shoulder. And I'm like, is he going to do something? But in the end, he was waiting for our doctor to show up and didn't want to be in the way if she could like make it in the room in time. But he's kind of waiting, making sure everything looks good. He's talking to the nurses for a second. And I look down and I'm like, yo, there's hair like coming out over here. And he kind of peeks over my shoulder and he's like, uh-huh. And then he's all of a sudden he's standing like right here, like where Hannah's at. He's like standing right here next to me. And he goes, she's not going to make it. And then kind of steps in front of Hannah.
He puts a hand out and he's like, okay, Mom, give me a little push.
So the head comes out and she's just kind of like chilling there. A little cone heady, like looked kind of funny, but not as bad as Crew. And then he goes, all right, Mom, give me one more push to get those shoulders out. And that simple, and the child comes out.
And she came right to my chest, which we didn't get with Crew. Crew was like worked on in the room and then rushed to the NICU.
NICU.
We got skin to skin immediately. Colin got to cut the cord, which he didn't get to with crew. I had no tearing, which I did not believe him.
She goes, seriously? He's like, yep.
Yeah. First, after all this happens, they get everything cleaned up. He's like, nope, no tearing, you're good. All this stuff. The nurse walks over and she goes, wow, that was like less than 4 minutes. Closer to 3, but we'll just round up and say 4 max. That they officially clocked pushing. It was less than 4 minutes.
Yeah.
It was wild. And then it's just so different because we were there for a week with crew. The checkup went great. They're like, she's healthy. She got to stay with us in the room. They got us transferred over to Mother Baby. So she was born at 2:13 p.m. Colin went and picked up crew and brought him to the hospital to meet her, and it was super cute. Hi, honey.
Say hi.
Look. You want to see her? You want to hold her? Okay, let's sit down. When he first saw her, he like immediately wanted to hold her. And so we sat down on the bed and he held her. And then she moved and he was like, no, no. Hi. And like pushed her away. But I mean, he's done super good.
Yeah.
Wants to hold her all the time, loves giving her kisses, loves hugging her, loves giving her binkies, loves covering her up with blankets. Oh, that's so sweet. That's so gentle. Good job. Yeah, gentle. On her head. The next morning, the doctor came around at like 8 a.m. He's like, you're cleared to go. They cleared me, and then we just had to wait for her labs to come back. And once those came back, we got to go home.
So we left at like 4:45. Got home at like 5:15, 5:20.
What? Little girl, 3 weeks old already.
And it's been so fun.
That's her birth story. That's it.
It's how we had a baby.
Little girly.
That's right.
Love you, girly.